Few years ago, an unusual bulb had appeared in the Indian market just for a few months. Unlike the common one-filament bulb, this new design had two filaments, and it was sold under the brand name David Lamp. Was it a serious attempt to innovate the age-old design of the bulb? If yes, then who was the maker and what was he trying to achieve by introducing another filament? To get an answer to these questions, we met Dr. Arun Agarwal in IIT Delhi. Dr. Agarwal is the Chief Design Engineer with the famous Instrument Design Lab of IIT Delhi and follows trends in innovations.
Now, what good are these two filaments? Under the bulb, I have got a flap which I can turn to select which filament I am going to operate. And that means that basically I have a double-barreled bulb, if I can call it that. I can use one filament, and when that burns away, I can use the second filament. So I would have a bulb which will last twice as long. So this bulb must have come out of the mind of somebody who observes very carefully and whose mind is not running in a conventional thinking track in which the mind of most people runs. It's the work of an individual, I think, who sees in a very simple way and thinks in an even simpler way. This is simple.
The inventor of the David lamp was a person called David. This double filament lamp was just one example from his great repository of innovations. He was known to be a very ingenious person. Many scientists in IIT knew of him, but suddenly he had disappeared. Curious to know more about David, we set out on an exploration. One trail took us to David's sister, Rajmani, living on the border of Delhi. She told us that David had designed the bulb keeping the poor in mind. He thought of giving them double the life at the cost of a one-filament bulb. She guided us to Hyderabad, where David was living at present, and also handed over to us a bundle of papers. Little did we realize then that these papers would reveal to us a genius who dreamt of being a great inventor, but circumstances proved otherwise. David spent hundreds of evenings in these streets picking up junk, spare parts, spending whatever money he earned, sometimes as a mechanic, sometimes as a laborer, sometimes as a dishwasher.
उसको अगर 100 रुपए या 150 रुपए सैलरी मिलती थी तो 100 रुपए का तो वो उसका लोहा वो आ जाता था कि मुझे ये बनाना है। तो कुछ भी अगर वो रात में सोच लिया, उसने उसकी ड्राइंग बना ली, सुबह उसके फौरन या आपसे किसी से भी वो पैसा मांगकर वो लोहे की जो चीज उसको चाहिए होती थी वो ले आता था।
His fertile mind was brimming with ideas. Whoever met him was impressed with his unusual ability to invent and innovate. At that time, a parliamentarian took keen interest in his work. Professor Dinesh Mohan and his colleagues in IIT Delhi were appointed by the government to evaluate David's ideas. Professor Mohan still remembers his first meeting with David.
He just came into my office because he met someone who had asked him to come and meet me, and he needed help in some inventions. And he came up to the office just out of the blue and had a little briefcase in which he had 2 or 3 small inventions, some new fuse box, another pedometer, and he just one after the other he showed 7, 8 things quite excitedly, and which showed that he was quite innovative and certainly not very well off, because you could see from his demeanor and his clothes that he was not doing very well financially.
David's mind worked best at cost-effective solutions which would help people at the lower end of society. Right from childhood, he was annoyed at the hardship that marginal farmers had to go through in their small fields. When he met Dinesh Mohan, he had an idea about a new kind of harvester.
He had actually come to take help because he was very excited about a manual harvester, pedal harvester for wheat he had developed, and he wanted to make a prototype, and it was very innovative, and if successful, we thought at that time that it would reduce the drudgery of the farmer and increase the harvesting process without using a tractor.
The fruit of David's hard work, a new concept, a harvester which uses pedal energy instead of fossil fuel, suiting small farmers' needs and pockets as well. Rigorous tests and trials proved the efficiency of David's design. The Institute recommended it for further trial. But once it went into the hands of the Indian bureaucracy, the pedal harvester disappeared forever. For David, another pressing task had come. He was also the breadwinner for the family. Hyderabad. Trying to earn a living has made David a kind of a nomad. Every 2 years, he's in a new city. In the last 30 years, David has created a large body of work, more than 150 innovations. Many of them have just become extinct. Finally, we find his home. David's wife, Vijaya, meets us at the door. And in another room of the house, we find David the innovator, as usual, busy with his tools and machines. House of the Innovator. This is David's famous reverse charge anti-gravity water filter. A designer cooler in which clouds are generated. A curious looking pot. I'm sure only David can explain these. To understand the course David takes to invent something, we explore his very new innovation, a highly efficient electric motor. Sometime or the other, we have all observed that a slow breeze can make the ceiling fan rotate. But when David observes the event, he has a point to make.
उस दिन का एक वाक्य ऐसा हो गया, मैं बैठा हुआ था तो मैंने देखा, जरा ऊपर गौर किया तो पंखा जो है हल्की से गति से घूम रहा था, और जबकि उसको वो ऑन नहीं है। मैंने कहा ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? तो थोड़ी सी हवा से ये पंखा जो है चल रहा है। तो मैंने ये गौर करना शुरू किया, क्यों भाई ये इसमें जो है 100 वाट कम से कम उसको टॉर्क देने के स्टार्ट करने के लिए ही 100 वाट का पावर चाहिए। तो ये हल्की सी हवा से ये घूम रहा है, तो उसमें तो हाँ मुश्किल से एक 10-15 वाट ही होगा, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा।
His investigations began. Inside the fan are two structures, an armature with copper wire winding that is also called a core. An iron ring surrounds it, taking the blades along when a fan rotates. David identified that the problem lies with the design of the armature that has nearly seen no changes in several decades.
उस पोर पर आप जो ये देख रहे हैं कि कंटिन्यूस जो फील्ड लगा हुआ है, इसमें सदा विद्युत धारा बहती रहती है। तो मैंने ये सब ऑब्जर्व करने के बाद मुझे ऐसा लगा कि इनके मूलभूत जो लॉसेस हो रहे हैं, इनके चलने से घर्षण और जो थर्मल लॉसेस इसमें बहुत अधिक होते हैं, इनको मैं कंट्रोल कर सकता हूं और एक नया सुझाव पेश कर सकता हूं समाज के लिए।
After several years of study and experimenting, he came upon a new design. Inside these two common-looking cylinders is the magic design, the genius of David's brain. Known as motors, They are at the heart of devices used for mechanical and electrical work. One rotation of work in one motor generates enough electrical current to make the other motor rotate simultaneously. Loss of energy being minimal, scientifically they are called efficient motors. What he had achieved single-handedly with very basic materials would have taken any scientist, a skillful team, expensive equipment, and the facility of a professional lab. Interest has been shown by some scientists to test these motors rigorously.
It will be very difficult for me to actually understand it, because I think such people work very differently from people like us, because people like us read, construct, find some logic, write equations, go from small to the more difficult. But I think these people work completely differently. I think their brain is wired differently, and they can probably imagine things in their brain. They can probably imagine the whole thing working in their brain before they start making it.
David has fitted a slightly different version of these motors in his fans, which he claims use 50% less electricity than any branded fan. Dr. Thomas is an engineer scientist with Osmania University, Hyderabad. Upon hearing the news, he wants to check David's claims.
Oh, this is quite unusual, David. What is this with energy crisis and increasing power tariff day by day? You seem to be having not one, but three fans, a small one, a big one. And what is this, something unusual here, a funny shape?
That is what the funny about David. The fans, what you see, both the fan, if I operate all the fans, even in the power crisis, still it will consume less power than the conventional fan. Now you see the performance of the
First, the branded fan is switched on.
Now you see the fan is working.
Readings are displayed on a digital watt meter.
This is the normal consumption of conventional ceiling fan, what you see around 80 watts. And this is the reason that I had to design, you see, my new fans.
Well, Mr. David, the unusual design of your fan has kindled my curiosity. So I have seen the performance of the conventional fan via this watt meter. I would like to see how your fan performs now.
David switches on his fan. A bulbous-shaped fan picks up the speed.
Oh, well, David, in terms of the amount of air I am getting from this, I seem to have been suddenly transformed to the North Pole, I think. Your fan seems to be giving a very good whiff of air. It's very comfortable standing under it.
Yes, of course.
Okay, let us have a look at the readings and convince
now
ourselves.
you can observe the reading by yourself.
Right.
When readings settle, Dr.
So what
Thomas
do I
gets
see
mesmerized.
Here? 230 volts is before. Oh, this is amazing. The current has come down from 360 to 230. Look at that, the wattage. It's no longer 80, it is only 45, 46 watts. Oh, that's an amazing 40 to 45% drop in power consumption. How did you achieve this, Mr. David?
But David's magic continues. To demonstrate the superiority of his design over the current fans, he brings down the input voltage in fans to 180 volts, creating a low voltage situation, very common in a large part of India.
You see the performance at 180 volts, and you will notice by yourself.
It's the time when Dr. Thomas has to use his discretion.
Yeah, the breeze has certainly come down compared to what it was at 230 volts.
I'll demonstrate you the effect of our fan at the same voltage. Now you see the performance of our fan at the same voltage of 180.
Yeah, it seems to be unaffected by the reduction in voltage. It's working as well as before.
That is because this is working at a very low wattage. It consumes very low watt. So the energy, the supply, voltage supply doesn't affect much.
Well, this has been quite an enlightening experience for me. I have seen the working of a fan made by Mr. David. We have compared its working with a conventional fan. So at least two things have really stood out. One is the power consumption. It has drastically come down by almost 45%, which is a very significant amount. The second thing we saw is that with wide fluctuations in voltage, I have found that the performance of his fan is just as good as it was at 230 volts, whereas the conventional one, as expected, of course, the breeze amount, it has just come down.
बचपन में मैंने बहुत ख्वाब तो बहुत देखे, लेकिन मुझे थॉमस अल्वा एडिसन और मार्कोनी लोग जैसे लोगों ने काफ़ी प्रभावित किया। मैं भी सोचता था कि थोड़ा बड़ा हो करके ज़्यादा ज्ञान लेकर के कुछ मैं भी समाज के लिए एक बड़ी खोज दूं और काफ़ी धनवान बन जाऊं और अपने माँ और भाई बहनों की देखरेख कर सकूं, तो काफ़ी संपन्न कहलाऊं, मेरा नाम ऊंचा हो, ऐसी जरूर अपेक्षा है।
At the age of 8, David was put into an orphanage school near Delhi. He was yet to get over the death of his father, who was a doctor. Suddenly, the family had become very poor. His mother was working very hard to earn a livelihood.
हम लोग जब दिल्ली आए तो ब्रदर को तो डेविड को तो हम लोगों ने दिल्ली से 30 किलोमीटर दूर एक गांव में ऑर्फनेज में डाला था, और फिर मैं और मम्मी थे, तो हमें गुरुद्वारों में भी रहना पड़ा, स्टेशन में भी रहना पड़ा, कभी सड़क पे भी गुजर नहीं बोल पाऊंगी।
In school, David was getting double promotions and was considered a brilliant child, but circumstances forced him out of school.
प्रतिभावान होते हुए भी मुझे सिर्फ इसलिए वजीफा नहीं दिया गया कि क्योंकि मैं क्रिश्चियन कम्युनिटी से अपर क्लास से हूँ।
एक्चुअली मेरा जो ये बड़ा भाई मेंटली डिस्टर्ब हो गया, तो वो फीस नहीं जमा कर पाया था, तो इसने 8 का एग्ज़ाम दिया, तो उसका सर्टिफिकेट नहीं दिया। फादर ने कहा कि पहले फीस लेकर आओ, मम्मी को बोला पहले फीस लेकर आओ फिर सर्टिफिकेट ले जाना।
Back to the struggle of life, he became a dishwasher with a missionary school in Delhi. Here, he made one last unsuccessful attempt to complete his education.
तो वहाँ मुझे दाखिला इसलिए नहीं दिया क्योंकि हमारे पास उनको देने के लिए फीस नहीं थी। तो उन लोगों का भी ऐसा ही था कि भाई जो व्यक्ति, हाँ भले कुछ कोटा होता हो, लेकिन मेरे जैसे व्यक्ति के लिए तो नहीं था।
पास्टरों के पास काफ़ी पैसा होता है और ऐसे होशियार बच्चे के लिए वो कर सकते थे, नहीं किया।
Thereafter, life completely engulfed him. He worked as a construction laborer, mechanic and dishwasher, learning to meet both his demands, basic as well as intellectual. He would sit for hours, immersed in books, always verifying the knowledge he gained as a mechanic, creating designs of his inventions before giving them actual shape. By the time he came in touch with intellectuals, it became difficult for people to believe that David had not even completed his schooling. This strange-looking bicycle is a great example of what a multifaceted brain David has. The moment he was ready with his great motors, he thought of using them in other ways. The bicycle's mechanics is very simple. It has two motors, a gear system, and another gear system to transfer motion to the wheel. A 24-volt battery held in a bucket supplies power to the motors, which in turn rotates the gears, and there goes David, riding a cycle without pedaling it.
इसकी खासियत ये है कि ये जो इसमें मोटर लगे हुए हैं और बहुत कम एम्पियर करंट से चलते हैं, बहुत कम करंट लेते हैं चलने के लिए। अगर यही सिस्टम हम दूसरे कन्वेंशनल मोटर से लें तो इसमें जो लगी बैटरियां हैं वो 5 मिनट में खत्म हो जाएंगी।
In one charge, these motors can carry 80 kilos of weight for 3 hours and do a 30-kilometer round with a speed of 10 kilometers per hour. The innovation is in the process and will probably take 1 more year to take full shape when David will charge these batteries with solar panels and give it an attractive look. But David's fascination with pedal energy does not end here. The more he looks at it, the more useful he finds it. This time, he discovers a completely unorthodox use of it.
We were in Kerala. There we were staying in the campus, and there was a mess about 400 students were there. So they were in Kerala. They use this they want grinder, and they make dosa, idli, all rice and dal items only. So they used to in a mess. The kitchen lady, when the power goes off in Kerala, many per day at least 5 hours the current goes. So she used to tell, David sir, you're making so many things, you're inventing, why don't you make something for us? When the power goes off, we can do with hand, we cannot do because our hand pains such a lot, because 100 people means she cannot, grind. So then he also thought an idea, why not do something? So it struck him, that idea struck him, and he said, okay, I will do it.
Grains are soaked properly before grinding begins. Instead of hands, it's the push of legs on pedals that rotates the pot, in turn rotating stone wheels and crushing grains into a smooth paste. Here is an example of how simple engineering can be used to tackle household problems. The pedal rotates the colored wheel, which in turn rotates the plate sitting horizontally upon it, while maintaining the torque or force generated at the pedal level. In 10 minutes, 1 kilogram of wet grain can be ground with loss of little physical energy.
It saves energy, it saves time, it saves money. There's no repair for this. And moreover, it's a very good this for ladies exercise. In electric it becomes hot. So the taste is not so good. In this, it is like what they do with the hand, ladies, rubukallu they say in south. With that they do, that taste you get, vadas or dosas. Dosa and idli is very tasty in this, and very smooth it comes.
Lying outside the house is one of David's dreams, the harvester. This is the 7th design he has created so far since his bicycle harvester days. After the initial testing 2 years back, he had to dismantle it. Proceeding with the project required money, which he didn't have.
वर्तमान में जो हार्वेस्टर है उनके कटर बार जो है जमीन को नहीं लग सकते, जमीन को लगते ही उनके कटर बार टूट जाते हैं। हमारी समस्या है कि भाई किसानों को जो है ऐसा फसल काटने का यंत्र मिले जो उनको भूसा भी दे और अनाज भी दे। विदेशों में तो भूसे को जो है वो खिलाते नहीं है, हम लोग तो खिलाना पड़ता है, हमको तो अनाज चाहिए और पशुओं के लिए भूसा चाहिए। आज जो पंजाब में पूरे देश भर में जो भी हार्वेस्टर चल रहे हैं विदेशी तकनीक के हैं, वो क्यों हमारे लिए बनाएंगे? इसलिए हम उस पर रिसर्च करते हैं, इसलिए हमने पैडल वाला बनाया कि ताकि गरीब से गरीब किसान को भी मिल जाए 5-10 हज़ार में।
Over the years, his economic condition has worsened, forcing him to slow down the speed with which he innovates. Many prototypes of his inventions have gone extinct in the struggle of earning a livelihood. Today, he is a disappointed man.
अपने मेरे सपनों की जहाँ तक बात है वो तो नहीं पूरे हुए, लेकिन कार्यों के हिसाब से तो मैंने काफ़ी कुछ किया है जिसको समाज आज नहीं तो कल जरूर जान जाएगा। और रहा सपने की बात पूरे होने की, तो मेरे कभी अरमान पूरे नहीं हुए, माँ गुजर गई, मैं वो सब नहीं दे पाया अपने परिवार को जो एक बड़ा होकर के आदमी दे पाता है।
An undaunted spirit and the need to help the marginal people of society is the motivation that keeps David persevering. He still hopes that one day his work will be recognized, perhaps globally. That will be his day.